Hey everybody, it's Nick Cuenca from thehyperloops.com, and here we are with another unboxing. This time, not sports cards, but Marvel versus System cards. A lot of people might not know this, but I used to play this game. They had a Pro Tour back in 2000 and wow, 2004, 2005. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, 2004 was when the game came out. This is the first starter. It was the X-Men versus Brotherhood. Starter has Wolverine as the main sort of chase card, and the actual better card. Well, arguably, I mean Wolverine can be better, but anyways, the other card that's foil in here is Magneto himself, which definitely saw more constructed play than Wolverine. So I'm gonna get into a little bit of the history of what cards are good, what cards are bad. I actually just started playing in a online league for this game. People are still playing it. It's not very big. It's a niche thing, but we get it's very much similar to Star Wars Destiny. You got like 20 to 30 people. So yeah, so let's get to it. This is the box here. It's a nice one here. I'll show it off just for those who are interested. Sometimes when I watch unboxing videos, I just want to see very specific things. I'll do a little side shot here. Yeah, I definitely watch unboxing videos, and sometimes I'm like, I want one very specific thing. Like, I want to see this part right here on the bottom. Yeah, 2004. There you go. So for those who wanted to see a very specific thing like that, you're welcome. So yeah, so we got a little tape action here. We're gonna bring out our trusty boatman knife, and I bought this because I wanted the. It has actually a bunch of commons that are worth quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but they're worth like a couple dollars each. And I wanted to rebuild the decks that I had when I was playing, and the Brotherhood faction was very strong at the beginning. They were aggressive. They could play sort of an aggressive little weenie deck. They could also play a bigger sort of go longer kind of strategy. So yeah, so here we go. We got that nice little thing. We got two decks. And here's the Magneto. He's pretty cool. And yeah, so Wolverine, 7-drop X-Men. Whenever Wolverine stuns a character with cost 4 or less, ready Wolverine. And in limited, you if you so the way the game works is everyone attacks uh, based on the initiative they have. So if you have odds on turn 7, you would attack first, and if your opponent had God forbid they had a 4-drop, they cost 4. Wolverine 4-drops are much smaller than Wolverine, so Wolverine would attack into it, then he would ready, and then he'd be able to attack again. And yeah, that's really good in this game. Magneto's bigger, as you can see, 1616 as opposed to 1513. Wolverine's ability is so good, that's why they made him a bit smaller. But Magneto ended up seeing a lot of play in various decks, actually. There was what we called a Big Brotherhood deck, and it leveraged having multiple copies of Magneto. And you could, so if you have another copy of the same card, there are uniqueness rules, so you can't play 2 Magnetos at once. But if you have another Magneto in your hand, you can discard it to give the Magneto +1 attack and defense for the combat. All right, so we have the Wolverine here. We got Colossus. Colossus not too great. Never really saw any constructed play. Cyclops not good either. 9/9 is generally the standard. Yeah, so He does have an ability there that's pretty good, but on defense he sucks. Cyclops is fine. You know, he is serviceable. He's little. Cost 2 is a 3/2. 3/2 is pretty standard for a 2-drop. Dazzler, not great. You know, it's okay. Gambit, also not particularly great. We're going to see a lot of, like, so the X-Men just were kind of, the characters weren't particularly strong. Jean Grey, activate KO resource you control, put the top card of your deck face down. Not super great either. Got 2 of those. Nightcrawler is actually very good. Nightcrawler can attack as though he has flight and range. While Nightcrawler is attacking, he cannot be stunned. So, flight is pretty good in this game, and the fact that he can't be stunned meant that you attacked with him and he was not going to be stunned, which, you know, is sort of like the way of whether or not he would return for the rest of the round. Yeah, so he's at 8/8 here. We're gonna get the Brotherhood cards, and you'll see why. Sizing really matters a lot. Comes into Prefix comes into play. Another X-Men character target player controls and discards a card from his hand. Target player chooses and discards a card from his hand. Uses power only during the combat phase. Yeah, I mean, for a 5-drop, it's just not very that good. Like in constructed play game, most constructed tries to end on turn 5 unless you're like a stall deck, and then you know you can go a little deeper. Causes breakthrough, endurance loss to an opponent. That opponent chooses and discards a card from his hand. Yeah, 3/4 for 3 is very bad in this game. It's 4/4 is a minimum. See, Rogue I remember being okay. Recruit Rogue only if you control an X-Men. Whenever Rogue stuns a defender, KO the defender. So that's quite good. You just stun and it would KO the defender. Shadowcat. Yeah. Target of any X-Men character gets +1 defense attack. Oh, buddy, watch out. Yeah, that's not really a world beater. Storm, pay 2 endurance. Your opponent character loses fight this turn. I mean, that's fine. She has a relatively okay stat line. 7/6 for 4, flight and range. Range means you can play someone on the back row. That means that if they have range, they can attack from the back row. Front row, anyone can attack from the front row. Range means, flight means that you can attack to the back row if someone's in front. So if I have like here, you could fly over and hit there, which is very strong. Actually, Wolverine's very, very good. I think he's the best character. The 3-drop Wolverine, he's a 6/6 for 3. As you can see, the costings are just like so ridiculous. Like, you know, just for a 4-drop, like this 4/3, just it's an incredible exchange. And here, an additional cost to recruit Wolverine, reveal another X-Men character from your hand. So the Wolverine, all I really needed you to do was you have another X-Men, which not that hard. So one of the reasons why I bought the starter is that there's cards like Acrobatic Dodge, which are just, you know, random commons, but in the first set, they made a lot of really good commons, like Acrobatic Dodge. It's a target defender you control gets +3 attack, -3 attack, +3 defenses attack. So imagine, you know, Storm attacks Wolverine. I play an Acrobatic Dodge on my Wolverine. Now he's a 3/9, and that's sort of, you know, that comparison 6 to 9 and then 3. You just kind of compare like in a lot of games. This would be a push. Nothing would really happen, which is good because then once the person gets attacked, then I get to attack, and then Wolverine can attack someone else or Storm, and maybe I'll have a way to be a favorable exchange where my guy doesn't stun. Yeah, one guy's stunned, they take damage. So and then everyone has like trample. In this game, it's called breakthrough. So if this would happen normally, 7 to a 6, and then there would be 1 overflow damage. That's a very, very basic explanation of the game. The game is actually pretty easy to play. It's very hard on sort of a higher level because it's very deterministic. Yeah. So cover fire, also another really good common. Target defender gets +2 defense for this attack for each other non-stunned character with range you control. So As you can see, there are a lot of characters with range. Imagine you had a board of 3 or 4 even characters with range. They attack into you, and then you're like cover fire. If you have 3, it's +4 defense. And you see here, compare, this card's quite good, and it's +3 defense and -3 attack, but this is just straight up +4 if you have 2 other guys with range. If you have 3, it's +6, which is ridiculous. And the fact that it doesn't affect your attack, it is very, very specific for all range deck, but yeah, it's quite good. Dual Sidearms, also a very serviceable card. Equipped character +2 attack and has range. It is 0, so it's free, so you just kind of like can play from your hand, put it on Wolverine. Now Wolverine's got a gun, and he can attack from the back row. Finishing move, also a very serviceable card. It's exhaust a character you control in order to play finishing move. KO target stun character. So when characters sort of go for this exchange, they would both stun, which flips down. At the end of the turn, you can recover 1 character. Normally you would both be able to recover your character. But if 2 guys get stunned, like so, you can only recover 1, so one of them will go to the discard pile. You will usually recover the more expensive character. But imagine I've got something like this. Got this little guy, and you're attacking with the Wolverine, but you attacked with this one. I can finishing move to KO this, even if I did not stun your character. So sometimes you can KO their highest cost character without much issue. Well, we got finishing moves. All right, we got flying kick. Flying kick's a very, very good card. Target character gets flight this turn. While attacking this turn, that character gets +3 attack. So you'll see these costs here. They don't. Basically, every turn you get to play a card face down, and they count towards your resources. It's like a threshold, so you don't pay anything, but basically the number you have down, you can flip the cards and you can play them from your resources. So I could play this on in round 1. Generally, you wouldn't want to do that, but you can. Some of them are more expensive, like finishing move you can only do in 2, cover fire you can only undo 2. So in round 1 you won't be able to do finishing move or cover fire. But flying kick's really, really good because it gives a character flying for 3, and that the rate of like a card for +3 attack is pretty much the standard, but the fact that it gives a character flying, and so there's something in the rules where basically like it's a lot of the pumps will be only for that particular attack, but flying kick gives the character flying and +3 while attacking for the turn. So sometimes you get to attack twice with a character, and you'll get it'll work both attacks, which is then +6, and that's one of the things that really elevates this card to being incredibly strong. Kevlar body armor, not particularly great. It costs 2. There were some decks that tried to play it for free. As a surprise, also a very good card. +3 attack while defending. So you might see this card. I think initially a lot of people didn't think this card was particularly great, but a lot of times what you'll do is you'll attack your big guy into a little guy. Yes, so your big guy doesn't get stunned. So you can just kind of like, crush a little guy, but, the nasty surprise comes out and is like, oh, you thought my guy only had 1 power, got 6, and you attacked the guy with 6 defense, too bad. 1-2 punches, it's fine. It's not great, not a constructed playable card, but in limited, very serviceable. Target character gets +1/+2 this attack. So that's this attack versus for the turn. So this is just like, it's not even close like how much better flying kick is than 1-2 punch. Although 1-2 punch can save your guy from getting stunned in a very favorable way. Danger Room, front row X-Men characters get +1 attack. Support row X-Men characters get +1 defense. This card it's whatever. It's fine. It is what it is. It's a card that is okay. It never saw constructed playable maybe a little bit, but one of the things about in this game is when you have locations, is that locations are unique unless you say otherwise. So if you put like 4 of these in your deck, if you drew 2, locations like you play your resources, turn 2, turn 3, and you can flip it up. It's like, oh my guy gets +1 defense. It's not super powerful, not super strong. And if you played multiple in your deck, you won't be able to flip the other ones. I mean, you can, but then you have to discard it. So if you play 2 of them, you have to discard the other one, and that's not good. Fastball Special. Play only during your attack step. As an additional cost to play Fastball Special, exhaust 2 front row X-Men characters you control. Stun target character. So this card was always a card I tried to make work because it is incredibly powerful, as it allows you to exhaust just 2 characters. They're specifically X-Men to stun a character. So you can imagine a scenario where you play 2 little guys that cost 1 to stun like a big guy that costs 5 or 6. The problem is it's very specific, and a lot of times it's just better to like play cards that like make your characters bigger. So like, you know, if I have like 2 little guys, I can do some kind of pump, play a card that's like, you know, +5 attack to my little guy, and then that will be just as good. You can also, it'll work on just 1 character. This you need 2, and then you be in the front row, and then you be X-Men. So it's like very specific. It is very powerful though. Xavier's School for the Gifted youngsters. It's a location again. It says activate, which is exhaust, tap. Ready target X-Men character you control with cost 3 or less. That character cannot attack this turn. This card is not particularly great. It there's a rule in this game where you can reinforce, so that stops the overflow damage, and that is helpful for that. There are also cute things you can do where characters have like good activated abilities, and they can use those twice, and that's like really where it shines. This card never saw. Also, it's only 3 costs or less, so it's like really for like weenie decks. All right, X Corporation. Discard a card from your hand, gain 2 endurance. If discard card X-Men character card was gain 4 instead. So this card surprisingly did see some constructed play. There was a stall deck, and then you would just gain 4 life every round. It was super annoying. It's kind of like a metagame deck. It was a fun deck to like have in the metagame. So I didn't go over this little because we just jumped right into the cards with this. The basic rule book. So if you get this, you'll be able to play. So that's pretty cool. It's good to have. I don't have a basic rule book in my collection. Oh yeah, so this is like a big starter. Oh my god, I put the camera so close. This thing is huge. So yeah, this will give you a nice board of how everything will. Let me pull this out real quick so I can show a little. It will have sort of how you play, so how you set up the KO pile, the deck. Yeah, this is cute. I like this. But I made my camera go really, really close because I wanted the cards to come out. And I didn't know about that. Alright, so now we're going to stab Magneto. Ah, I don't like that. Too bad, Magneto. You shouldn't have chosen a life of evil. It's not evil. It's a different philosophy. Well, I'm sorry, Magneto. We're going to call it evil. We want humanity and mutants to live together. If you don't like that, then go to your island of mutants or whatever. I don't know. I forget exactly where they were chilling. I think they had like an island or something, right? So yeah, the starter's not too expensive. Although I think this is one of the more expensive ones because the first one actually has like a lot of good cards. The ones I named. Magneto's actually a very, very good card. There were decks that played him even though without caring about the affiliation. And stun characters your opponent control cannot be recovered. So that ability is it's obviously like really powerful. But once you got to turn 7, it's like really did that matter? Like, did it really matter? Did it really, really, really matter? Answer is, it might not have, but sometimes it did. Like, sometimes you go to turn 8 and you stun 2 of their guys, and Magneto was not stunned. So, this only works if he's stunned, but if he got stunned, it didn't do anything, so. Yeah, so, I don't know. This card gives me the feels. I remember definitely playing this card. And in limited, if you got a Magneto, oh boy, that was unbelievable. The Blob is the Blob's in your front row, support row, Brotherhood characters you control cannot be attacked. So Blob is pretty good actually for that first set. It was really annoying because he would make it so you'd have to attack him first. A 6/9 actually really well statted for most of the other things, and yeah, he's the Blob, so he's great. Destiny is activate whenever target character becomes stunned this turn. Its controller loses 4 endurance. Use this power only during the build phase. So yeah, so you would play this and then activate it. Oh, their character gets stunned. They're gonna take 4. Yeah, the Brotherhood were really the way they were built in this game is that they were all about doing a lot of damage, doing burn, and we're definitely going to see that. Destiny was very good as a early card. Magneto 5, probably not as good as Magneto 7, but still really good. Like he is a 9/9 for 5. If you remember the statting of the other cards that we saw, like that they were 8/8 for 5s. He also has range and flight. And this really, really good ability, which is at the start of your attack step, if you control another Brotherhood character, you may exhaust target character with cost 4 or less. Now, that you had to have the initiative, right? So on turn 5, you'd have to do this, and what it would do is you'd play him, and reinforcing is a big part of the game, so you could just mess up the reinforcements, and that makes it so you do more damage. Essentially, that's what it did. And yeah, this Magneto really gives me the feels. You definitely play a lot of games with him. Super, super strong. For that era at least. Mystique, 4/3. If Mystique would cause breakthrough, endurance loss to an opponent, that opponent loses 5 endurance. And so all you really needed to do was just deal 1 damage, and then that would deal 5 more damage, and that's like insane. And yeah, they did not shy away from nipples in these pictures, that's for sure. So here's another Mystique. Mystique 6-drop. What was it? Brotherhood. Whenever Mystique causes breakthrough endurance loss to an opponent, look at that opponent's hand and choose a card. That opponent discards that card. Alright, so I think that so this is 12/12 for 6. This is like a pretty standard sort of sizing for that, so that's good. This Mystique saw more play because the Brotherhood decks were generally tiny. There was a curve deck that went bigger, and then I think it would play that Mystique just because it had you could play multiple Mystiques. And there's a card that we're going to see that's going to really incentivize you for having multiple of the same card, which we'll see right soon. Fantasia is target defender gets -2 defense attacks, range. It's whatever. The card's fine. It's just it is what it is. It was playable 1-drop, and since you didn't have that many 1-drops, you kind of had to play her. Pyro really good. Pyro costs 2. Activate target player lose 3 endurance with range 2/2. And this is just like super strong because he was definitely going to be doing 3 damage every round, and a lot of times they just wouldn't even attack you because you would hit the stun back. So you'd be like here, and then they attack you, and they're like, all right, your guy's gonna stun, you take damage. Before I take damage, I'm gonna deal you 3. So you take 5, and I'll only take 2 or something. It's just super strong. Quicksilver is really is okay. Target player who controls no ready support row characters loses 5 endurance. Use this power only during the combat phase. So, they didn't have a ton because they generally knew that you were playing Quicksilver. But sometimes they would play first and put all their guys in the front and not put in the support, and then you burn them to 5. And they probably should have known better because you were playing Brotherhood and there was only so many cards you could play. Sabretooth 6-drop. If Sabretooth is in your front row or becomes stunned, you may pay 10 endurance instead. If you do exhaust Sabretooth, move him to your support row, and Sabretooth is not stunned. So yeah, it it's kind of an interesting design. Card's pretty good for the time. Because essentially, if it would be stunned, you'd pay 10 endurance instead. So you actually just you stun damage, you'd take 6. So it would be an additional 4, generally worth it, because that meant that you could recover another character, and being able to recover another character with 4 endurance certainly worth it. Sauron gets +1 attack for each stunned character in play. I mean, Sauron was just like a character you kind of had to play. There weren't too many of them. Just flying, and a lot of times you'd be like an 8 or a 9, and that's pretty good. Oh, Scarlet Witch. I love Scarlet Witch. So she breaks a sort of like 9/9 sort of baseline. So actually statted more aggressive for the era. And she is Brotherhood. Obviously, whenever an opponent uses a character activation power, that opponent loses 5 endurance. So there are certain decks that just like straight up lost to her because they needed to use all these powers all the time. Yeah, so Scarlet Witch is really scary if your opponent was like playing one of them against a certain kind of deck. There's certain combo decks that I played, and I knew if my opponent has Scarlet Witch, I was just going to lose. Because I needed to do like 20, I needed to do 10 or 20, endurances. If Toad, 3/2, if Toad becomes stunned, you may return him to your owner's hand instead. So, yeah, he's alright. 3/2 for 2. It's about standard sizing. The returning to hand is, I don't know, it's helpful for certain cards that were played. Acrobatic dodge you saw, cover fire, dual sidearm, finishing move. You saw those, some more flying kicks. So yeah, with the starter, you get 4 flying kicks. You can build some nice decks with those flying kicks. Kevlar body armor, nest, surprise, 1/2 punch. Alright, so we're going to get here to the specific Brotherhood card. So Asteroid M is a location. And now, if you play these decks against each other, it's not even close which one's good, which one's the best one. Like for some reason, they just made the Brotherhood so much better as a starter deck. And in general, the cards are just better too. So this card's actually not even the best one, but here I'll read it to you. Costs 2. It is. Let's see if I can get it to. Target Brotherhood character gets +4 attack this while attacking a character with lower cost. So yeah, so that's just like activate it. That's 4 free damage every round. You had to attack lower, but hey, if you were killing them, it didn't matter. So here's Lost City. It's a location, costs 1. If a Brotherhood character you control would become powered up. Powered up as you discard a card with the same name, give +1/+1. That character gets +3/+3 instead. So this card made its own archetype. You wanted to play a lot of the same copy of the card. You would discard, and then you would yeah. So yeah, so I think this card it sort of defined the meta for a while. It was sort of it was a very draw dependent deck, but like if it got the nut draw, it dominated. Here's Savage Land. Savage Land is super good. Activate target Brotherhood attacker gets +1 attack, -1 defense for this attack for each resource you control. So cost 1. So on turn 1 you can just start it off. Boom. Do 1. Turn 2 does 3. Turn 3 does 3. Turn 4, you get the idea. It wasn't busted, but it was super good. Oh, here's another card that they just gave them. It's the new Brotherhood, costs 1. Ongoing. While you control 4 or less resources, Brotherhood characters you control get +2 attack. Now, this was probably one of the defining decks that started the game. You would just play all these crappy 1-drops that were generally not very good, and then you would play the new Brotherhood. And yeah, you would just, you'd play a 1-drop and he would be a 1/1, but no, he'd be a 3/1, and then you'd play a 2-drop that was like a 2/3 or 3/2, but no, he'd be a 5/2, and yeah, just, eventually you'd get to 5 resources, like, oh no, it's like, oh, but by the way, I have a way to like lose my resource, but I was able to play a 5-drop, like a Magneto, Super good. And War on Humanity is a plot twist. Costs 1. It's ongoing. This means it's ongoing, so you play it on your resource row, and then it would stick there, and it does something like the new Brotherhood. So at the start of the recovery phase, each of your opponents loses 1 endurance for each non-stun Brotherhood character you control. This card was, I don't know, was fine. Wasn't exciting, wasn't horrible, but yeah, I mean, sometimes it didn't make the cut. So yeah, there it is. There's my trip down memory lane. I'm really glad that I got a bunch of these cards. I'm gonna make some decks for, once quarantine ends. I'm gonna sort of archiving a lot of these, and hope to have some fun, play some of the old school Brotherhood decks. And yeah, just let me know what you think. There is a league of versus players that if you used to play and are interested in doing that, it is through Octogen or OTCGYN or whatever people call it. Not exactly sure. It's super fun, and everyone's like kind of, just kind of enjoys the game. It's a very easy game to play. It's hard to get like really good at, I think, but yeah, it's like very, very, pretty standard. Just once you know all the sort of symbols and everything, it's like pretty easy, I think at least. Um, but yeah, let me know what you think, and please like and subscribe for more videos like these.